You sit down to do real work. The first few minutes feel surprisingly good. Your thoughts begin to gather and settle. Then something invisible shifts inside your head. A small itch appears behind your eyes. You glance at your phone for no clear reason. 20 minutes in, the focus is already gone. You blame your discipline, your willpower, your character. But none of that is the real cause. Your brain is running a hidden timer you were never told about. This timer has a name in neuroscience. It is called an attentional cycle. It governs every focused minute you have. Most adults can sustain deep attention for 15 to 25 minutes. After that, the brain demands a reset. This is not weakness. It is biology. The problem is that no one taught you the shape of this cycle, so you fight it instead of using it. Picture the first 5 minutes of any focus session. Your prefrontal cortex is warming up like a cold engine. During these minutes, your brain is still loading context. You feel slow, distracted, slightly resistant. This is the warm-up phase. Most people quit here thinking they cannot focus today. But if you stay, something interesting happens around minute 6. The noise in your head begins to quiet down. Between minutes 7 and 15, you enter the strongest window of your day. Thoughts sharpen. Distractions feel further away. This is the zone you have been chasing, and it is shorter than you ever realized. Around minute 16, a subtle pressure starts building in your nervous system. You may not notice it consciously. Your heart rate shifts slightly, your breath becomes shallower. The brain is signaling that fuel is running low. If you've experienced this, you are not alone, and you are not broken. By minute 18 or 19, the brain begins searching for an exit. It looks for any small reward to replenish itself. That is when your hand reaches for the phone. Not because you are weak, but because the cycle has ended. The screen gives you a fast dose of novelty. Dopamine rises briefly, then crashes. And here's where the real damage begins. You did not just lose a moment, you destroyed the next cycle before it could form. What neuroscience discovered next changes everything. Each time you interrupt your own focus with a quick scroll, your brain logs the reward. It learns that distraction equals relief. The next time the 18-minute pressure returns, your brain will reach for distraction faster, then faster still. Over months, the 20-minute ceiling becomes a 10-minute ceiling. Eventually, it becomes a 2-minute ceiling. This is not aging, this is not laziness, this is conditioning. You taught your brain that focus is something to escape from, and it learned the lesson well. Now picture the same 20 minutes if you respected the cycle instead of fighting it. You start your session knowing the warm-up will feel rough. You stay anyway. You enter the deep window without checking the clock. You let it carry you. When the pressure builds at minute 18, you recognize it as a signal, not a failure. You stand up, you breathe, you look at something far away. This is the part most productivity advice never mentions. A real reset takes between 2 and 5 minutes, not 20, not an hour. You walk to the window, you drink water slowly, you let your eyes unfocus. During the short pause, a system in your brain called the default load network activates. It consolidates what you just learned. This is when ideas connect. This is when problems quietly solve themselves in the background. Then you return to your desk, and the next 20-minute cycle begins fresh. This is how some people produce 6 or 7 hours of deep work in a day, not through more discipline, through respect for the cycle. Stay with me. This next part will explain something about your brain you've never been able to articulate. The 20-minute ceiling is not a limit. It is a rhythm. A pianist does not play a concerto in one unbroken breath. They move through phrases, pauses, and returns. Your attention works the same way. It was never designed to be a flat line. Modern work culture asks you to focus for hours without break. This is biologically impossible. So you fake it. You sit at your desk while your mind drifts. You call this working. The cost is enormous. You spend 10 hours pretending to focus and complete 1 hour of real output. Then you go home exhausted, wondering why such a long day produced so little. This is the quiet tragedy of the modern worker, not lack of effort, lack of rhythm. Comments which of these patterns describes your daily focus struggle. The fake focus drift, the 18-minute phone reach, or the warm-up quit. If this feels familiar, drop a single word, focus. I read every comment, and patterns appear that surprise me every week. Now let us talk about what to do tonight, before tomorrow morning ever begins. First, decide on one cycle, just one, 20 minutes of real attention. Set a quiet timer. Put your phone in a different room. Not face down, not on silent. In a different room. This single change removes the strongest distraction your brain has ever known. Begin the session knowing the first 5 minutes will feel uncomfortable. Sit with that discomfort. Do not switch tasks. Do not check anything. Do not stand up. When the timer ends, stop. Even if you feel flow. Especially if you feel flow. Most people break flow by pushing past the cycle. The reset is what protects the next session. Walk for 3 minutes. Look at something more than 20 feet away. Do not pick up the phone. Then return. Begin the second cycle. 3 cycles in a morning equals 60 minutes of true deep work. That is more than most professionals produce in 8 hours. What's coming next is the exact method that fixes this permanently. For the first week, you will only manage 1 or 2 cycles. That is normal. Your brain has been conditioned for years. By the second week, the warm-up phase shortens. The deep window expands slightly. By the 4th week, your ceiling lifts from 20 minutes to 30, then to 40. This is not magic. This is what happens when you stop punishing your brain for following its design. The real shift is not in your schedule. It is in how you interpret the 18-minute pressure. Most people think becoming a millionaire looks dramatic. They imagine champagne. Trained people read the same pressure as a signal. They think the cycle is closing, the reset is near. Same biology, different interpretation, completely different life. This interpretation lives in the small choice you make at minute 18. It is the choice that decides every other choice that follows. Reach for the phone, and the cycle dies. Reach for the breath, and the cycle renews. Over a year, this single repeated choice rewrites your career. But there's something even more surprising about this pattern. The 20-minute cycle is connected to something older than productivity. It is connected to how humans hunted, learned, and survived for 200,000 years. Early retirement about escaping the matrix, followed by walking pauses. Their nervous systems were tuned for cycles, not marathons. You inherited that nervous system. The office did not change your biology, it only changed your expectations. When you honor the cycle, you are not being lazy. You are being human in the oldest sense of the word. When you fight the cycle, you are trying to be a machine, and machines burn out faster than people do. The ancient hunters did not have a willpower problem. They had a rhythm so natural, they never had to name it. You are the first generation that has to consciously rebuild what your ancestors did without thinking. This is not a weakness of your character. It is the cost of living inside screens. Here is the truth most productivity books quietly avoid. You do not have a focus problem. You have a recovery problem. You never learned how to rest between cycles. A 2-minute true reset is worth more than a 30-minute scroll. One feeds the next cycle. The other steals it. This is why people who scroll on every break feel more tired by noon than people who simply walk and breathe. Your phone is not just a distraction. It is a recovery thief. Every micro-scroll between cycles drains the fuel you needed for the next 20 minutes. By afternoon, your fuel tank is empty. The 4th cycle becomes impossible. You blame the work, you blame the meeting load, you blame yourself. But the real cause was the 7 small scrolls you took between the morning cycles. So tomorrow, try one experiment. Take every break without your phone for a single day. Notice how different the afternoon feels. Notice how the second half of your day stops collapsing. This one change will reveal more about your focus than any book on the subject. Most people imagine champagne report the same surprise. They thought their focus was broken. It turned out their recovery was broken. After 3 phone-free reset days, the 20-minute ceiling already begins to lift on its own. No new technique, no new app, just the absence of one quiet thief. Picture this. You're working on something important, and the 18-minute pressure arrives right on schedule. Instead of grabbing the phone, you simply stand. You roll your shoulders. You breathe through your nose for a slow count of 10. Within 90 seconds, the pressure softens. Within 3 minutes, a new clarity arrives. You sit back down and the second cycle begins clean, not contaminated by a screen. This is the small skill that separates focused people from everyone else. It is not talent. It is a chosen pause. A chosen pause feels boring at first. Your nervous system is used to constant stimulation. Within a week, the boredom turns into a quiet kind of relief. You start to crave the pause more than the scroll. That shift is the real beginning of focus. Everything before was performance. Your hours are not yours yet. They belong to the cycle until you learn to ride it. When you ride it, time slows down in the best possible way. 20 minutes feels like real work, not survival. 3 cycles feel like a morning of meaning, not a morning of effort. 4 cycles feel like a life that finally fits inside the day you were given. The people who seem to focus effortlessly are not gifted. They simply stopped fighting their own design. You can join them, not in a year, tonight. Pick one task for tomorrow morning. Pick one 20-minute window. Pick one phone-free reset. That is the beginning, not a productivity system, a return to how your brain was actually built. If this video gave you something useful, the kindest thing you can do is subscribe quietly and stay. These ideas will reach more people who feel the same 18-minute pressure you felt today. Leave one word in the comments if you plan to try one cycle tomorrow. Just the word, one. I will be reading every single one of them this week. And I will know exactly what you mean. Your focus was never broken. It was only waiting for you to stop interrupting it. 20 minutes is not a limit. It is a doorway. Walk through it tomorrow, and the rest of your life starts to feel quieter, sharper, and finally yours.